This is SpaceTime, Series 28, Episode 126, for broadcast on the 27th of October, 2025. Coming up on SpaceTime, planet Earth experiences an asteroid near miss, and we didn't even know about it until it was too late. A pair of green comets lighting up the night skies, and Chinese space junk slams into Western Australia. All that and more coming up on SpaceTime.
Welcome to SpaceTime with Stuart Gary.
You want to know what keeps astronomers up late at nights, other than observing time, of course? It's scenarios like the one which happened earlier this month, when an undetected asteroid was suddenly seen swooping past Earth just 428 kilometres above the ground. Now, to put that in perspective, that's about the same altitude as the orbit of the International Space Station. The asteroid, now known as 2025 TF, was up to 3 metres in size, and it sped across the skies above Antarctica. Even scarier, astronomers only found out about it after it already made its closest approach. Astronomers from the Kitt Peak National Observatory in Arizona were the first to detect the asteroid some 6 hours after it swept by. Additional observations were then undertaken by the Catalina Sky Survey and the European Space Agency's Planetary Defence Office using the Las Cambras telescope at the Siding Spring Observatory near Coonabarabran in far western New South Wales. 2025 TF marks the second closest approach of any known asteroid, behind only 2020 VT4, a slightly larger meteor estimated to have been up to 10 metres in size. It passed above the Pacific Ocean back in November 2020 at an altitude of 386 kilometres. Any space rock flying lower than that usually ends up hitting the Earth. And like 2025 TF, 2020 VT4 was only detected after its closest approach. In that event, some 15 hours later. And you got to wonder, if there are asteroids out there that we don't see until it's too late, how many near misses are out there that we never see? This is SpaceTime. Still to come, 2 bright green comets lighting up our night skies, and a smouldering chunk of Chinese space junk slams into the Western Australian outback. All that and more still to come on SpaceTime. Over the past month, sky watchers have been enjoying the rare spectacle of 2 bright green comets streaking across the night skies. Both are thought to have originated in the Oort cloud, a region of comets, icy debris and frozen worlds gravitationally bound to the Sun at and beyond the very limit of our solar system. Comets are frozen leftovers from the solar system's formation 4.6 billion years ago. They heat up as they approach the Sun, degassing volatiles into space, which form a coma around the comet's nucleus and generate their characteristic streaming tails. The comets look green because of the gases streaming off their surfaces. The appearance of both these comets coincides with the annual Orionid meteor shower, which is visible from October the 2nd through until November the 7th. Meteor showers occur when the Earth passes through debris trails left behind by comets as they orbit around the Sun. As a meteor from this debris field enters Earth's atmosphere at high speed, friction generated as they fly through the air causes them to heat up dramatically, resulting in a characteristic bright streak of light, often erroneously referred to as a shooting star. The Orionids are generated by the dust stream left behind by Comet Halley, which swings around the Earth once every 75 to 76 years and is due to make its next appearance in 2061. As for our current cometary visitors, Comet C 2025 R2 Swan was spotted in September by an amateur astronomer. It's just past the Earth and is now heading back to the outer reaches of the solar system. As Swan leaves the warming embrace of the Sun, it'll grow dimmer as the days pass. Meanwhile, Comet C 2025 A6 Lemon has just made its closest approach to the Earth and will achieve perihelion, its closest orbital position to the Sun, on November the 4th. It too will then also head back to the outer reaches of the solar system and won't be back for another 1,300 years. Lemon was first discovered back in January by telescopes scouring the night skies for near-Earth objects. Dr. Robert Massey, the Deputy Executive Director of the Royal Astronomical Society, says Comet Lemon is a spectacular sight at the moment, especially for Northern Hemisphere sky watchers, looking like a fairly bright fuzzy object near the star Arcturus, before heading further round towards the southwest beneath the stars of the Summer Triangle.
Comet Lemon is pretty much at its best visibility right now. It's closer to the Sun around the 4th of November. So really, this is pretty much the best time to be looking for this object. The best place to look now is in the evening sky. So you need to be looking as it gets dark, obviously after the sunset, when the sun's above the horizon, it'll be much too bright. As the sky darkens, the comet will first of all be moving over a matter of days past the bright star Arcturus, and then it'll be further round towards the southwest, beneath the stars of the Summer Triangle. You're going to need some kind of app or find a chart to help you locate it. But with a pair of binoculars sweeping around the sky, it doesn't stand out as a fairly bright, fuzzy object. If we're very lucky and you've got a very dark sky, it might be possible to see it with the naked eye as well. Despite the fact that comets like Lemon have tails and this big coma of gas around them, actually the nucleus in the very centre is probably quite small, probably only a couple of kilometres across, so hill or mountain size. It's remarkable that we see them so well. It isn't going to be like, say, Hale-Bopp was, for those who remember it back in the late 1990s, or even Neowise in 2020. It's going to be a little tough to see with the eye. But that said, it's a reasonably bright comet as they go. The fact that you can see easily with binoculars makes it fairly unusual, and I think it's really, for that reason alone, something to go and enjoy, particularly if you've never seen a comet before.
That's Dr. Robert Massey, the Deputy Executive Director of the Royal Astronomical Society. And this is SpaceTime. Still to come, smouldering chunks of Chinese space junk slam into Western Australia's outback, and later in the science report, global carbon dioxide levels hit a new record high. All that and more still to come on SpaceTime. A smouldering chunk of blackened space junk is being discovered lying in the middle of a remote access mining road in the Pilbara region of outback Western Australia. Mine workers found the still burning wreckage some 30 kilometres east of the town of Newman. The debris appears to be part of a composite carbon fibre pressure vessel from the fourth stage of the Chinese Geelong-3 rocket. The Geelong-3 was launched last month, deploying 12 satellites into low Earth orbit. Its upper stage was on the right trajectory at the time, a 97.6 degree inclined polar orbit, which would have put it directly above the impact point at 12:40 local time earlier that same day. The Australian Space Agency ESA is now examining the object. Beijing has long been criticised by other nations for its inability to safely control the deorbit of its spent spacecraft. Back in April 2022, parts of the Chinese third stage rocket booster crashed back to Earth near a house in the Indian village of Ladori, startling the residents who were preparing a meal at the time. Of course, Western Australia's outback is no stranger to space junk, with NASA's Skylab space station, its most famous contributor, crashing back to Earth and scattering debris over a wide area between Esperance and Balladonia in 1979. This is SpaceTime. And time now to take a brief look at some of the other stories making news in science this week with a science report. A new study has found that 2024 saw carbon dioxide levels in the world's atmosphere hit a new record high of 423.9 parts per million. The findings by the World Meteorological Organization are detailed in its latest annual greenhouse gas bulletin. The new record high reading represents an increase of 3.5 parts per million above 2023 levels, and that is the largest recorded annual increase since modern measurements began in 1957. The likely reason for this record surge was extensive emissions from wildfires, while record warm temperatures also hampered the ability of forests and oceans to capture and store carbon. Archaeologists have unearthed the remains of a 1,500-year-old synagogue in the Golan Heights. The ancient shul was uncovered at a dig site in the Huria Nature Reserve by scientists from the Israel Nature and Parks Authority and the University of Haifa. During their excavations, scientists found the base of a column, a stone floor, and the southern wall of the temple with 3 entranceways and different architectural elements. So far, more than 150 items have been documented across the ruins, including a stone engraved with a Jewish candelabra called a menorah, a large rectangular stone tablet with dovetail handles, and several stone benches. The archaeologists are now looking for the temple's northern wall to determine its overall size. They estimate the building could be at least 17 metres long. The synagogue was constructed in a basilica style, featuring a rectangular structure with 2 rows of columns and benches along the walls, a common layout in ancient shuls in Israel. The building's very similar to other synagogues in the area, which date mainly from the late 3rd to the 7th and 8th centuries. So far, archaeologists have uncovered the remains of more than 130 ancient synagogues in the land of Israel, demonstrating a continuous Jewish presence from the Hamashian period in the 2nd century BCE right up until the late Byzantine and the early Islamic periods of the 6th to 8th centuries. In a shocking revelation, a national survey marking Global Handwashing Day has found that 28% of Australian men and 18% of women surveyed say they didn't always wash their hands after urinating. Of even more concern, 13% of men and 11% of women admitted not always washing their hands after evacuating their bowels. The findings are highly concerning, as toilets and bathrooms are one of the favoured locations for harmful bacteria, and fecal matter often contains bacteria, viruses and parasites, all of which spread the risk of diseases. The survey also found that 43% of men and 49% of women admitted they didn't always wash their hands before handling food. Well, it seems shysters have come up with a new way to grab your money. They're marketing a new healing Biomet, a rug which they claim offers detox, pain relief and mood boosts using the quantum effects of crystals, negative ions and infrared heat. Tim Mendham from Australian Skeptics says a study of the mat by McGill University concluded that it was a textbook case of clever marketing dressed up in scientific jargon with very little evidence to back up any of the claims.
This is a mat with a little bit of a lumpy pattern to it that you lie on. It's a healing thing. It's going to cost you close to $2,000 US, and it's got all these claims about it, that it's a detoxing, pain relief, boost your moods, infrared heat. The description of it said it looks like it was written by a rogue AI with a thesaurus and a minor head injury, which is very cruel, because the description of it says, and this is on the company's own website, 3-part synergy of quantum energetics from deep penetrating heat of far infrared rays, negative ion therapy for cellular activation, and the healing properties of amethyst. That's a nice conglomeration of things.
So as soon as they say the word quantum, you know it's garbage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the red flag that pops up straight away. And you say anyone who quotes quantum probably doesn't know anything about quantum science or anything, but it sounds good. Far infrared rays exist.
But humans shine brightest in infrared radiation. What we see in visible light, that's nothing. Humans shine in infrared radiation. So if you lie on this mat, you're going to heat it up. It's going to have infrared heat.
Oh, don't tell me you were saying that you actually heat the mat up and the mat doesn't heat you. There's also the negative ions, of course, who says that, the density of negative ions, they do exist, but it's not of effectiveness about having measurable effects on you. And of course, maybe it was about in the 80s or something, there was a big thing about negative ion with negative ion generators and all sorts of things that, we supposedly would improve the air, clean the air.
We had one at the radio station I was working at the time, and it made the air smell like it had been raining. I don't know if it did any good or not.
Supposedly the effect of being near a waterfall, when you talk about being raining, etc. But as far as healing powers and healing all sorts of illnesses and things, no, there's no evidence for that at all. Anyway, and as far as crystals go, thank you, bye. That's the next red flag that crops up. You were saying quantum is the first red flag. The healing properties of crystals is the next red flag. And I would suspect, and what McGill seems to put forward as well, is that you've just spent $2,000 on a bit of rubber or whatever it's made out of. The Biomet that you're sort of lying on will probably not do anything. They describe it finally, the McGill, as the pseudoscience gift wrapped in scientific gibberish, sold with the confidence of a man in a trench coat offering Rolexes in a back alley. Which is Yes,
beautiful.
I don't think that's lovely, isn't it? And that's why I like McGill University. They come out with a lot of good stuff, actually. They suggest, alternatively, grab yourself a little heating pad, one of the things you squeeze, and it puts that heat, and a cup of tea, and you'll save yourself a lot of money.
That's Tim Mendham from Australian Skeptics. And that's the show for now. SpaceTime is available every Monday, Wednesday and Friday through Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcast, Pocket Casts, Spotify, Acast, Amazon Music, Bytes.com, SoundCloud, YouTube, your favourite podcast download provider, and from spacetimewithstuartgary.com. SpaceTime's also broadcast through the National Science Foundation on Science Zone Radio and on both iHeartRadio and TuneIn Radio. And you can help to support our show by visiting the SpaceTime store for a range of promotional merchandising goodies, or by becoming a SpaceTime patron, which gives you access to triple-episode commercial-free versions of the show, as well as lots of bonus audio content which doesn't go to air, access to our exclusive Facebook group, and other rewards. Just go to spacetimewithstuartgary.com for full details.
You've been listening to SpaceTime with Stuart Gary. This has been another quality podcast production from Bytes.com.